Wonderful to see y'all. All right, we're official. The recording's going. Hey, PTK advisors, it's wonderful to see y'all here on this Wednesday afternoon. It means a lot to us that you take some time out of your day to learn a little bit about student success, to maybe find out a little bit more about how you can partner with us to serve the most diverse, the most engaging opportunity students in the country. And that is, of course, community college students. So if you are at a community or technical college, I think almost by definition, we are on the same page in terms of wanting to support those students and want to advocate for those students and want to make sure that community college students are respected and recognized and celebrated and engaged. So welcome, everybody. Some of y'all who are on just even before we hit record, I was mentioning if you are here and we see lots of y'all here with us, go ahead and let us know in the chat where you are. It's always fun for us to see where everyone is leading from. But we at PTK are pretty big. And I always say that Phi Theta Kappa, while we have our headquarters in Jackson, Mississippi, that is not where PTK is. PTK is wherever you are. And so if you're working with students on our honors program, working with your college administration to improve an issue at your college through the college project, if you're guiding students through transfer and scholarship and all of the chapter activities, then you're PTK wherever you are. So we're happy to have you here. If you've been to these sessions before, I'll let you know we're relatively informal. I know on our student engagement team, we've got our coffee ready to go. It's kind of that hour, at least for me down here in Houston, Texas, home of the Astros. If you're not an Astros fan, that's okay. Nobody is perfect. We're so happy to have y'all on the call. But Patty's going to get mad at me because she's a Phillies fan. Like I say, nobody's perfect, but it's wonderful to have all of y'all here. And before we get started and kind of get into the topics, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce members of our student engagement team who are on this call. I am Blake Ellis. I'm our Chief Engagement Officer and really honored to spend every single day working to create those opportunities for students so that they can grow. Oh my God. A Phillies fan that lives in Houston. Now I can't even come back. Patty's so happy right now. Patty Van Adder, I was just about to do your intro. It's getting worse and worse, as it goes. But our student engagement team, we are PTK. Every single one of us has a long, sometimes longer than we care to admit, history with Phi Theta Kappa. But this organization is 104 years old. And for almost all of those 104 years, we've had a pretty simple mission to recognize the best college students in the country and then to help them grow as scholars and leaders. And on our team, we do both of those things. We recognize and we help the students grow as scholars and leaders. So with us today, we have Susan Edwards on the call. That's our Associate Vice President of Honors Programs and Undergraduate Research. All things honors in action and undergraduate research, and also working with our Leadership Development Studies program, which is amazing. And I hope you'll get engaged with and learn a little bit more about. We have Jennifer Stanford, our Associate VP of Program Implementation. Jennifer works on just about everything in our department, but a special focus today on College Project and guiding students through getting started in that amazing project. Also works heavily with all of our programs. Patty Van Adder is on the call, our chapter outreach and development coordinator. If you are an advisor on the call and you're thinking, I'm not sure how to get started, I need a good contact, you need to really get into the basics of chapter management. There's no one better than to get to know Patty Van Adder, who's a former regional coordinator and a former advisor. And despite being a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies, she is a wonderful person that you got to get to know, and one of the biggest student success champions out there. So you got to get to know Patty. And then we have our curriculum designer who every day teaches us new things about teaching and learning. At Phi Theta Kappa, we kind of sit at that intersection of what's going on in higher ed. And that's why every day I'm so thankful that Reagan Chastain is on our team, because we have to stay up to speed on how people are learning, what the newest technology is doing to how we interact online. And Reagan teaches us every single day how to deliver and how to engage in ways that are dynamic for students. So our team is full of professionals just like you, working to benefit students, working to engage students. And we're so thankful that you're here with us today. But having said all that, and with that final introduction given, I'm going to turn it over to the curriculum designer, Reagan Chastain.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're so glad you could join us today. So we're going to begin with just some basic, what is the 5-star chapter plan? And so the way you want to think about the 5-star chapter plan is like a roadmap to chapter engagement. The plan contains 5 levels, and all levels are equally important. One level is not any more important than the other. And so what we're going to do, we're going to go give a brief overview right now, and then some of my other colleagues are going to go into more detail about the 5-star chapter plan. So level 1 is we want to recognize academic excellence and build a chapter foundation. So that kind of goes along with what Blake was talking about earlier. Phi Theta Kappa's #1 goal is to recognize academic excellence in our amazing community college students. And so that's where we're going to start in level 1. And then level 2, we're going to start building those leadership skills. You're going to, in level 2, organize your chapter leaders and start trying to engage your members. And then we move from there to level 3, which is getting involved on a regional level. And you all know we have 29 regions, and each of those regions have lots of opportunities for your students to take leadership in those, and to also be involved in conferences and learning, professional development, those kind of things at the regional level. So that's what we want to focus on in level 3. And then in level 4, we move to developing a college project. This is one of the major activities in the Phi Theta Kappa year. And the goal of that college project is to build relationships with your administration. And those can be, I was a chapter advisor for 6 years, and I will say that was probably my #1 goal when I came in as a chapter advisor, was to try to build support, not necessarily just with the president, although the president usually is where you can get support as far as monetary support and course release support and that kind of thing, but also with my colleagues that were on faculty and staff. The more people that understand how Phi Theta Kappa works and how amazing, the amazing opportunities that Phi Theta Kappa affords on your campus, the more you let people know about those things, the more likely you are to be able to get those members and to get those members engaged. And then at level 5, we're going to develop an Honors in Action project, which is our second big project that we do each year in Phi Theta Kappa. And again, we'll talk some more about all of those later on. And I think later on in the summer, there's going to be some heavy focus on both the college project and Honors in Action project. We'll go into depth in those specifically. And then again, in level 5, we're also just getting involved on an international level. So again, we'll get lots more details about that later. But remember that all of these activities are completed between January and December. So you want to start thinking about how to calendar those activities out, and how to make sure that you're not waiting until the absolute last minute to get started. And the more, especially if you're a newer advisor, the more familiar you get with Phi Theta Kappa programming, the easier it is going to be for you to do that, because you'll see that, the summer may not be as heavy of requirements as far as Phi Theta Kappa goes. So if you can get started earlier, that will make December and November less stressful. But all those things, like I said, you'll kind of learn as you go along. And I've shared with another group last week, I actually created kind of a calendar of events, and I'm sure Patty can include those. Like I said, when I was an advisor, I kind of had my months organized, kind of what things I wanted to be working on, or what I needed my students to be working on for us to complete everything by December. And so Patty can definitely share this with this group as well. We also want you to understand that this 5-star plan, this is not something that's competitive. We don't want this to be a competition. We just want you to be recognized, your chapter to be recognized for their achievements and for their success. And we know that some chapters have been 5-star chapters for years and years and years. And some of you are starting with a chapter that you're not even sure who your members are. And so we just want to celebrate your success. And each year, hopefully, we can encourage you, and the more you learn, then the more your students can achieve. Because it's really, when it comes down to it, it is all about student success. And one other thing that you want to remember is that not every year is the same, right? No 2 years are going to look exactly alike. I think that this pandemic kind of taught us that, especially those of you who were advisors prior to the pandemic and then in pandemic times. And so I think it is important that you bring expectations to the table, but that you also keep in mind that every group of students is going to be different, and that you have to look at the strengths and the successes of that group individually and not compare it maybe to the year before. And so we're also now going to go ahead and talk about why should you participate? Right? Why should we participate? As we said earlier, the mission of Phi Theta Kappa is twofold. We first want to recognize the academic success of our community college students. And then second, we want to give those students the opportunities to grow as scholars and leaders. And so by implementing the 5-star chapter plan, you will provide those meaningful avenues for students to grow. So, for example, when they're participating in college project and honors in action, then they're going to be developing leadership skills. They're going to be developing research skills. It's amazing. I can remember some specific students, that when they came in, they were very shy. They were not willing to speak up in a group. And it was just amazing how much they developed. How they developed a professional persona as they went through the 5-star plan and developed, these projects. Also, you're going to give these students opportunities to network and to build connections, not only in the chapter, but if you're attending regional and international conventions, then obviously that's going to give students the ability to make connections all over the world. And we know that, when you're talking about employment opportunities, that connections honestly is the #1 way people are getting jobs these days. So building and networking in the PTK family is going to be so important and so helpful for these students. And like I said earlier, they'll get to conduct research. They'll be able to put that research into action through our Honors in Action project. So I just developed communication skills through both College Project and Honors in Action. I could go on and on about the benefits to students. The other thing is because we want these students to participate, because we want to expand your influence on your campus to increase your support from your college administration. Again, I can't stress that enough. The more support you have from administration, I truly believe the easier your job is going to be. And you also want to make sure that you know your college's expectations. There are some chapters that they are expected to be a 5-star chapter every year by their college administration. So You want to make sure that you're communicating with them frequently to make sure that you're meeting the expectations that your college president has. And then, of course, we want to celebrate. We really want to recognize these students on an individual level, as well as, on a chapter level. And of course, we have scholarships that students can participate in. And then there's also the honors case study, just so many opportunities for them to get recognition on the local, regional, and international levels. And obviously, all of that is something that they can put into a resume that is going to help them, as they move on from the community college and either continue their education or go into the workforce. So we just really, we find that the students who participate in these activities really do grow, and they are more successful in their college career. So I guess the next question is, how do we report this progress? So, we want all chapters to report. The default for now, is that you're currently set at a 1-star level. And so what you would want to do is go in and set your goal. And you can do that. You can see on the screen, ptk.org/5-star. And that's going to take you actually to the screen that's on the screen. If you see there, it says report your progress on that little blue button. So you would click there and it would pull up the information for your chapter. Now, one thing that we've done is that once you have reported your chapter officers, so you need to do that first, but once you've reported your chapter officers to headquarters, then they can update the 5-star chapter progress. So you don't have to, as an advisor, you don't have to do that each time. You can make that a duty of one of your chapter officers. So anyone who's a chapter officer, after they've been reported, should be able to update that. And we'd really love for you to check those off as you complete them. However, you don't have to check them off in a certain order. So if you complete something in level 5 before you complete something in level 2, that's perfectly fine. Not a problem at all. You don't have to complete them in order. However, you must complete all of the activities within a level before you'll receive recognition for that level achievement. So say, for example, I've completed everything through level 3 and I've done one thing in level 5. I'm only going to get credit for level 1 through 3, not for level 5. So you do have to complete every activity, and we'll look at that in detail, what's in each level later on in the presentation. So the deadline, there is a deadline for reporting this, and those activities, remember, the activities are completed from January to December rather, and then we actually, in January the 20th of 2023, you'll basically report what you did for 2022, right? So the award cycle is kind of, we give the awards in 2023, but it's for the activities that you've done in 2022. All right, so that's how we report progress, and we can, I know at the end we should have time for questions, and obviously we've pointed out that the student engagement team is here to help in any way, and so you can always reach out to us if you have questions about that. So the next thing I want to introduce you to, maybe if you're not familiar with it, is the activity guide for chapter leaders. So whether you're just now learning the ropes as a new chapter advisor, or you've been around for a while, you're seasoned, as we like to say, at Phi Theta Kappa, this is such a great resource. And it may give you, especially those of you who are seasoned advisors, it may give you some new ideas that maybe you haven't incorporated into your chapter before. So the guide is broken down into the activities that will help you engage your Phi Theta Kappa chapter, and they are easy to follow instructions, and it includes samples that you can customize to meet the needs of your chapter, so that your chapter can grow their leadership skills and of course grow as a unit, right? This is a team effort, Phi Theta Kappa is. And so so we've included tons of different opportunities, and you can see the website there to go directly to the activity guide. You can print off a PDF from that website. And then there's also links to different activities on the website. And the neat thing is the way we've done the guide is divided into 5 sections that basically mirror the 5-star chapter plan. So the goal is for you to be able to utilize the information in the chapter, the activity guide, in order to complete your 5-star chapter plan. So we are actually now going to dive a little deeper into each level, and we're going to show you how to utilize that activity guide to meet your chapter goals. So I am going to hand it off to Blake so that he can talk to you about level 1.
Yeah, we find that it's pretty helpful for you, even if you're going to do your deep dive into these levels, probably on your own and working with your chapters. We find that it can be helpful for you to just take a look at this. And so as we're talking through this, whether you're, with us right now or watching this a little bit later, we just think it's helpful for you to take a look and see what these levels are about. Because when you break the 5-star chapter plan down, we are not trying to give you 5 million things to check off. We are just showing you the 5 basic things that any strong PTK chapter can do. And starting with the 1-star level, I think you will see these are doable. You, with any officer team, with any group of students, you may have a team where you say, this group of students could compete at the highest level, and they may be aspiring to be named a top 10 chapter, to be named the most distinguished chapter, to win a Hallmark Award at our international convention. But every year, your chapter can be a 5-star chapter. And with the 1-star level, which is the kind of the basis of a strong chapter, you can't do anything without members. And so at the 1-star level, we are really focusing on recognizing academic excellence by making sure that you have made membership available to every possible student. One of the hardest parts of our job is that every year we hear from students who didn't join Phi Theta Kappa at the time when that was offered to them in your enrollment period, but because the benefits are for a lifetime, they're then transferring to a university, and the university says, we have a $5,000 automatic PTK scholarship, but that student didn't join. One of the best things you can do as an advisor, and the most rewarding things, is to ensure that every student is able to take advantage of that invitation. If all they do with that invitation is have a certificate, have maybe the cords when they graduate, put it on their resume and wear the pin, that is something they'll have with them for life. And it very well may be the first time that anyone recognized them for their academic achievement. So at the 1-star level, you got to organize a membership campaign. Just get your chapter annual report submitted. That takes maybe a minute. It's a really quick thing that you can do. And we put on here, you don't even have to tell us that you did this, but please review your chapter bylaws, right? Because with your chapter bylaws, we're not monitoring that. You just check that off. But we ask that every year you go and look and make sure that your bylaws are up to date. Next slide, Reagan. And in a membership recruitment campaign, when you think about what this looks like, this is different for every chapter because every college is different. You may be online only. You may be at a campus where most things are happening in person. But when you do a membership recruitment campaign, this slide shows you the basics. You may do an awareness week or utilize one of our awareness weeks to celebrate joining Phi Theta Kappa, but identify your eligible students. However it is that you on your campus figure out who is eligible, make sure that you identify them, create a recruitment plan to get those students, invite them, and our membership staff is here to support you in every possible way. I am one of these. Every advisor was different. I was one of these. get my list of eligible students, send it to the specialist and say, loop me out of it. Whatever you got to do, invite the students, and then we will on campus make awareness so that they can do that. But anything that you can do to make it easier, our membership team is here to help. But some chapters choose to conduct informational meetings. Maybe one of the things that can help is inviting the students to join, but having informational can ask questions, because when you get that invitation in an email, a student very well may not know what that is. If you're having informational sessions on campus, here's the scholarships, here's some transfer partners, here's all the EDGE programs, all the things that you can get for membership, that really helps. And please note and don't underestimate the importance of an induction ceremony. There is nothing, I think, that's more PTK than that induction ceremony. And every time I go to one, whether it's virtual or in person, some little part of my heart kind of just feels it, because at every induction ceremony, there is a student there that no one has ever told them you're doing a great job. And no one has ever mentioned to them that the possibilities for their future are endless. And to see the pride that students feel when they walk across the stage, whether you're giving them the rose, whether they're wearing their pin, however you choose to do that at your college, it is a meaningful moment. And so please, when you have that induction, make that available. Make sure that students are aware of that, because it really is a powerful moment. Next slide, please. All right. So for recognizing students, I think we've kind of talked about this, but recruiting effectively, plan the induction. In our activity guide for chapter leaders, we try in every way possible to give you things that you can plug in at your chapter. And I'm gonna say this: this is not meant to be like a test, okay? When we give you the activity, it's meant for you to adapt it. No one is there like, did you do it exactly as we wrote it? The idea is to make your life as an advisor easier. And so we have some activities there that are related to level one, like building an awareness campaign on campus, effectively recruiting students that are invited, and planning the induction. Reagan very helpfully has made a slide, and you can see this when you go to the activity guide, but there is a slide, and you can see it, what you're looking at right now on the screen, where you could just click and pull this out as needed. We have an activity, create PTK awareness on campus. And you can see with every activity that we have an intro, your directions, your learning outcomes, what materials you're needed. This makes it pretty easy for you to just get in there and kind of use this as needed. You notice when you look at this slide, if you're in the activity guide for chapter leaders, you can kind of see down, if you're able to see where it says sample messages, you just click that in the activity guide for chapter leaders, and the sample message pops up that you could potentially use. You click recruitment toolkit and it comes up so that you can use that. We know that a recruitment campaign should look different on every college campus. Your campus pride may be incorporated into it. Maybe there are things that you want to do that are unique to your college campus, but we want to make sure that you have this opportunity so that you can meet the requirements of level one. Invite members, get some members. You can't do anything unless you get some members. For level two, it's like you've got your members. So, okay, I've invited some members and we're doing the basics. We're making this opportunity available. Now let's take it to the next level. And for us, that is all about your chapter leadership getting organized and engaging members. And those two things go hand in hand, because once you get an officer team in place, we have officer teams of 1 or 2. We have officer teams, in some cases, I think over 20, where they have all the chairs, all the committee. And look, if you're watching this and you're like, I'm going to go build my empire on my college campus, you got it. Like, we're partners with you in that. Go get 20 officers, have them running that show. I remember, being an advisor, and, we would just, we would have like, everything. You couldn't go anywhere on campus without PTK. That's the idea. But if you're just getting started and you're like, hey, we only have one active student, there's your officer. Figure out how to get that student serving in an officer role, because that one student could have their life changed, but that one student will also help you transform the chapter so that you can build your reach. And if you are a Phi Theta Kappa advisor, by definition, you are all about changing lives, all about helping people reach their fullest potential, all about advocating for community college students to be in every room where decisions are being made. Because as we always say in my community, if you don't have a seat at the table, you might be on the menu. So we want community college students everywhere that they could possibly be. So for this 2-star level, you got to set your 5-star goal, which we talked about. Jennifer, I think, put the link in the chat. Very easy. And again, look, I'm just going to say it. 5-star. Let's have a 5-star goal. What's the worst? If you start for 5 stars, Patty's so happy. You start for 5-star, maybe you can't quite get there. I'm telling you, 5-star is doable. Your college project and your honors in action, maybe the first time out, you're not going to compete for the top awards, but you submit it. You get in there and you go do your homework award and you say, you know what? We tried, our project didn't quite work, but we won our 5-star. You earned it, you deserve it, you should be 5-star. But set your 5-star goal, organize at least 2 membership recruitment campaigns. By the way, almost all chapters are doing this anyway. Most of you have a fall and a spring induction. Even chapters that have not been 5-star in many years, you're doing a fall and a spring. Check that off, get the credit for it, and report your new officers at any time of the year. If December, you add an officer and you say, okay, we added our 1 officer. That is okay. That's organizing your chapter leaders. Nobody is over here trying to stop you from being recognized. We want to partner with you to recognize the chapter and students. Oh, next slide. Sorry. I said next slide in my mind, but not, out loud, as may have been helpful. So in the activity guide, we also have some activities that are focused on the 2nd level, developing your leadership philosophy, which we'll talk about a lot in our leadership development program for students. And I think you may find this, even if you're just getting going with chapter activities, our leadership program is going to be unbelievably helpful, because even to just organize an induction ceremony, I think students need to think through, at least on a basic level, how they view themselves as a leader. Are they a behind the scenes leader? Are they an out front leader? Are they a leader that leads from the heart? Are they a leader that brings people together? We really try to provide you tools to talk through those issues with your students, and we have an activity related to that. We also have a facilitating chapter meetings, which I'll say a couple of words about, and we have create a member of the month program. These are just some things we've come up with. Your chapter will definitely have your own. Like maybe your students come and say, hey, we want to do this great idea. That's fantastic. We're just giving you ideas. And by the way, although with respect to our journals that we publish, for College Project and for Honors in Action, no plagiarism of any kind. For activities for the chapter, you can steal from us whatever you need. If you need to just take a few things, and say we're going to use this, but we're not going to use that, we're okay with that. These activities are to make your life easier, but also, I think, to spur your thinking. As a chapter advisor, maybe you look at this chapter meeting and you say, we're not going to use the exact agenda the sample agenda. That's fine. Take what you need from it and make your life easier. So we just want to again show you what an activity looks like for level 2 in the activity guide for chapter leaders, facilitating chapter meetings. This is something I think we all should put more thought into, because if you are a chapter advisor, you're going to find yourself facilitating meetings. Maybe you've got your officer team and you're talking through issues. Maybe you have your college administration and you're saying, what do you want for the college project? Maybe you're thinking about honors and action research and talking through this year, the art and science of play. Maybe you are having your first on-campus meeting in 3 years. And it feels weird. It's like we're getting everybody together. We got to get the room. Are we going to have food? What's going to be all of the policies for this? We want to make this pretty easy for you. But you can see just when you look on this, some of the tips that we give here, I think you'll agree, are things it's worth at least thinking about. Be prepared in advance. Send out that agenda ahead of time. Start on time. Create an inclusive environment and keep it positive. These are things that we really hope will help you as you move forward. So if you have got some members, right, and you've ran some recruitment campaigns, and then you checked your bylaws, submitted your chapter annual report, all right, now you're moving on. That was level 1. Now you're moving on to level 2. Get some officers, maybe have a chapter meeting, start engaging. The next step is getting engaged with the region. And so it's only fitting that I would then turn it over to one of the best regional coordinators we have ever had. And I will say, to her credit, That is why she's a Phillies fan, because Patty, for years, was the regional coordinator of the Middle States region. And Patty, I'm going to turn it over to you, but you got to tell them what areas the Middle States represents.
Thank you, Blake. Yes, the Middle States region is the second largest region in Phi Theta Kappa, right behind Texas, which is the largest. And the Middle States is Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware, Washington, D.C., and we have 82 chapters in the Middle States region. And so one of the best things about being a regional coordinator and is seeing all the chapters engage with the region, right? All of our strong chapters that want to expand their networking, right, and be a part of the next level of Phi Theta Kappa. Definitely, connecting with the region is a huge benefit, right? For a lot of different reasons. One of them, simply one, because they are able to attend events that there is more leadership development, more instruction on some of the programs of Phi Theta Kappa. Advisors, especially with advisor meetings and advisor education at regional events that you can attend. And the other part about being connected to the region is there's a lot of bragging, right? And so every single person loves their region the most, and everybody's region is the best. And so it's really a good opportunity for you to get connected to your region. It is part of the third level of the 5-star plan, and there's only two major requirements, but you can do them in a different ways. If your chapter attends at least one regional event anywhere from January to December, you can check off that box, and that would have included regional conventions, whether virtual or in person, that happened early this spring, or that will be coming up in the summer or the fall. And then contribute to at least one regional activity. And there's several ways, right? You can have an officer. Some chapters do individual campaigns, and some it's the whole chapter that campaigns. So either way, if your chapter or a member from your chapter campaigns for regional office, or you as a chapter take a leadership role at a meeting, maybe you present a workshop on setting goals or time management or anything that your chapter really feels is important to you and to share with the region. Participating in a regional project with 29 regions, inevitably there are 29 service projects going on a regional basis that chapters can engage in, and regional officers usually lead those initiatives and count on chapters to participate, to show the strength and of the region and all of their chapters. You may not be able to travel to a regional event, but if you have if your college has more than one campus and more than one chapter, if you collaborate on a college project or honors in action or any event, that also counts. And for advisors, all regions have advisory boards that work with a regional coordinator. You would want to get in touch with your regional coordinator to see how you can take on that leadership role, working and support with the regional leadership. There's a whole section in the guide to help you with engaging with that with the region. All regions are led by a regional coordinator working with their board, and through regional involvement, a chapter can engage their student leaders in their city, state, and geographic region. One of the things that's I found really amazing just being in the Middle States region is I had students who never left the state of Delaware to go outside to another state, and even going to New Jersey or Pennsylvania was huge for them, and I'm sure it's the same with all the other regions. So it gives them an opportunity to experience something that they've never done and to network. We talked about how chapters can engage in other activities to develop their leadership skills alongside with the region. And so in the book, there are two activities, one all about campaigning for office, and then the other is to how you can meet your regional coordinator. And I'm sure most of you, all the advisors here, know who your regional coordinator is. There is a directory if you'd like to check on that. Or you could just send us an email and we'll make sure that we catch you in person. What's really good too about a lot of the regions, and I will say this, A lot of regions are still doing some virtual events as well, and hybrid events, and they count. So no matter what kind of event the region has and that you are attending, that counts towards your third level of the 5-star plan. Regional officers, I loved being an advisor because of chapter officers, but I love being a regional coordinator to work with regional officers, right? We have 29 sets of teams, regional officer teams. It's really an outstanding opportunity for these students to strengthen many transferable skills to help them achieve more academically, personally, and also their professional goals, right? You know, these skills include working collaboratively, because you have 5 students that are really acting as a chapter officer team for as many chapters are in the region, managing multiple priorities, demonstrating decision making, all those different things. So it's another level of leadership development that members can take advantage of. And the first question usually we get is, well, how do you become a regional officer? And so I really love this guide here because it does give the steps on how to start that process, right? Making sure you're connected to the regional coordinator, finding out what their campaign is all about, and also at the same time making sure you're analyzing your strengths to see if you are up to this, to campaigning for this. It's just an absolute wonderful experience for a group of 5 or 6 or 7 members to serve as the regional officer for the region, and they are recognized for that. There are regional awards for all that. So I encourage all the advisors to take a look at that. And when the calls go out from your regional coordinator, offer it to your students. One of the things that we've seen this past year is, without us having a lot of regional events until this year, nobody really knew what a regional officer was, or what the timepiece was of it all, and was this something good for them. And so this is really kind of like brand new for everybody. So if you could share all of this and encourage them to consider campaigning for regional office, that would be super awesome. And so those take care of all of level 3. Now we're going to move on to level 4, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Jennifer Stanford.
Thank you so much, Patty. Well, I just want to reiterate at this point that, the 5-star chapter plan is really telling you what to do as a Phi Theta Kappa chapter to be fully engaged in Phi Theta Kappa programming. And then our activities guide is explaining how you go about doing that. So it's written with the chapter officer in mind, or other leaders on campus that are leading your chapter. You don't have to have an officer title in order to be a leader. But we really want to make sure that we know that there are so many different experience levels that students have. You may have some non-traditional students as well as more traditional, and they come at it with varying degrees of self-confidence. And so that's what the activities guide is really all about, is giving you something, as Blake was saying, some templates that you can use and modify for your own use. But also, we know as an advisor, especially if you are fairly new to this role, that sometimes it's helpful to, go through those activities as well to see how you can adapt it for your campus and make the most of these opportunities for your students. And so at the 4-star level, we really are focused on that college project that has at the heart of it the building or strengthening the relationship between the chapter and the college administration. And I want to dispel a myth right off the bat, because sometimes chapters hear college project and they think, okay, we're doing a service project for their college. Well, that's not exactly it. This really is more of a joint project. We want it to be an opportunity for the chapter to work on a project that the administration has shared that really does relate to their mission, to their strategic priorities for this moment in time. and a project that makes the most sense for students, especially scholar leaders, as Phi Theta Kappa members are, to get involved and help the college fulfill their objectives and their goals for that project. So it's very much with the college administration in the driver's seat and not necessarily the chapter deciding what that project is going to be. Now, I say that with an asterisk because we know that sometimes, depending on how your campus runs, what your structure is, whatever is the politics or the bureaucracy at your campus, that you may be expected to come with some prepared ideas for that session and to really, talk about what the chapter could do for the college. But again, as long as you keep the focus on that this is strengthening that relationship so that the college sees the chapter as an ally and a huge asset to the campus and what the college is trying to accomplish, then that's what the most important thing is to completing a college project. So the other activity in the 4-star level is getting involved in our Hallmark Awards competition. And so when we say enter at least one category in the regional awards, what you need to know is that you can submit any of the entries, any of the categories that headquarters offers, and that will automatically enter you into the regional awards competition. So you're entering both regionally and internationally with one entry. And so, Patty, I think you can go to the next slide. Okay. So again, with that mindset of the activities guide is showing you how to complete these projects. It's giving you some professional development tips. There are even emails, sample emails that show how students can communicate with college administrators, again, under the leadership and direction of the chapter advisors. But one of the most important parts of the college project is meeting with the top administrator on your campus to get this project started, to actually discuss it. And so there are steps with that, but there's also, again, some professional development that will help that meeting go smoothly. And that's what, again, we really are trying to do is kind of fill in the blanks of actually implementing the college project. So there are several activities that take you through everything from setting project goals, being very clear about what the objectives are for that college project. We always tell students that you've got a big audience for this project. The chapter's reputation is on the line. And so you want to be very clear and realistic about what can be accomplished by the chapter working in tandem with the college administration so that everyone's clear on what the goals are. And then, collaborating, that the chapter doesn't have to do it by themselves. We want them to have a significant leadership role, but they certainly don't have to be the only students working on the project. They can bring in other collaborators, and we certainly want them collaborating with the other departments on campus. Again, it's a joint project with the college. And so chances are the president is going to point the chapter in the direction of different departments, whether that's student life or faculty or some other area on campus to fulfill the project's goals. And then that, ever-present communication skills. They're certainly going to get lots of practice with that, of communicating and knowing the professionalism of what it takes to communicate with college administrators, faculty, other student groups, all of those different audiences that they'll be collaborating with. Okay, go ahead. That's fine. You can go to the next slide. So this is just an example that from the activities guide, and it's one of the best things about the activities guide is that it's not just Phi Theta Kappa headquarters staff writing up these activities. We had quite a few advisors that helped contribute activities that have worked, that are tried and true with their own chapters. And I believe this one came from Liesl Harris in Alabama that put this together about the college project and kind of giving that analogy of building a house. And so it really helps, kind of that imagery really helps a new officer understand what this is all about and what the end goal is with developing a college project. All right, next. So the next level is the 5-star level. And so this is our pinnacle level in the 5-star plan. And as Reagan was saying earlier, you're not doing these projects necessarily in chronological order. In fact, we really strongly encourage that you're working on these projects either simultaneously, or for some chapters, they complete their college project in spring, or finish it up in the summer, and then they spend the rest of the calendar year focused on their honors and action project. And so one of the best things about, kind of that level 5 is that if you think of the honors and action project as kind of putting all of Phi Theta Kappa's hallmarks into one project, it really is sort of I think the most, maybe a capstone project, if you will, for Phi Theta Kappa chapters. And so it's based on the honor study topic. Blake mentioned it earlier, the art and science of play, which is a very new and different type of topic than we've had in past years, and seems perfect for the times that we're living in right now. And so that is a project that we really want you to know that we have other resources to walk you through fulfilling an honors and action project. It can sound intimidating at first, but we have a PTK Edge course that is, I believe, 3 units. So you can go through it very quickly, called Research Edge. And it's great for advisors as well as students to take the time to understand the steps of an honors and action project that is founded on a strong academic research foundation, but then moves on to that action component. So the other part of 5-star is that you're going to be competing internationally with Hallmark Awards. As I mentioned, in 4-star level, if you submit an entry in any of the categories that headquarters offers, then we automatically submit that for your regional award competition as well. And so we want you to do, at the 5-star level, you're doing a college project and an honors in action project. So we want you to write those up. That's an important reflection aspect that really helps the chapter reflect on what was accomplished, lessons learned, what went well, what didn't go well. That's a really important piece to any Phi Theta Kappa activity. And then we also want you to submit at least one individual award, recognizing, of course, chapter members and officers, but there's other categories for advisors as well as administrators and alumni. And so those are all for the chapter to choose from, and at least one of those categories fulfills the requirement at this 5-star level. Now, there's the international component, and really, you could argue that all of these Phi Theta Kappa programs are at the international level, but what we're distinguishing at the 5-star level is an opportunity really to make sure you're engaging in other benefits that Phi Theta Kappa offers to our members. It's not maybe it's not an event that everyone can attend, but our annual convention called PTK Catalyst, some of you have already participated in this, so you've checked that off already on the 5-star level, but that has both a in-person as well as virtual component. And then there are other ways for chapters to achieve this 5-star level, even if they're not able to join us for PTK Catalyst. And one of the others is participating in PTK Edge courses. So as long as 3 members complete at least 1 unit in a PTK Edge course, or our online leadership development course, then that fulfills this international activity requirement. So you're not having to do all of these elements listed there under one international activity. You can choose one. Of course, it's great to, again, be promoting all of these opportunities to your members, and hopefully they are participating in all of them, but only one is required to fulfill this level. The option that can be done either by an individual member or by a chapter as a whole is the Honors Case Study Challenge. And that, again, is a great program that also highlights our honors study topic. It can be a supplement to what the chapter is doing for their academic research in the Honors in Action project, or it can be completely separate. It can be on a totally different topic as long as it relates to the overarching honors study topic. And then that challenge is a scholarship competition as well. So we have scholarships that we give to the top entries in the honors case study challenge. Okay, next slide. Okay, so here are some of the activities that are in the activity guide, and these are specifically showing you how to really approach the Honors in Action project, taking you step by step through that. I think Patty, if you want to go on to the next slide, there's an example. So the research edge, for sure, make sure that you're taking part in that, because that really is going to go through the academic research. Not only will it show you the steps of an Honors in Action project, but it'll also help students understand how to conduct academic research. And then for the engaging internationally, again, this outlines the activities that are available to a chapter to choose from so that they can meet this 5-star level. Okay, I think I'm turning it back over to Patty.
It is. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, so we're here to talk about some additional resources, right, of the human variety and ones that you can, and other online ones. We talked a lot today about the activity guide for chapter leaders, and it's for members, leaders, and advisors. You can download the entire guide. Of course, use it digitally, refer to it as much as you'd like. Like Blake said, change it, steal it, augment it, whatever you need to do, it's all good. And the other one is for advisors, and that's our advisor education curriculum. It's totally online and self-paced. This is also both of these tools I wish I had when I started as an advisor, and I was on my way out when they were coming in, and I'm like, well, where were these, right? But they're very good. Especially the advisor education curriculum, because there are places where you will see advisors across the country give their best practices on certain things, and talk about some of their experiences that everybody can relate to. There are very few things that nobody gets, right? We all experience the same things as advisors, just in different levels. And so I encourage everybody, if you haven't had a look, summer is the best time to complete the 5-star plan for advisors. You get a pin when you're done. A letter goes to your college president, and we make a big deal about it every Monday or Tuesday on Facebook in our advisor group. So, because you are our student success champions, and by completing that, you just get a better understanding and sense of everything about Phi Theta Kappa and all of the programs. So I encourage you to take a look at those. Let me move this again. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. And we talked a little bit about membership and recruitment and all of that. And I want everyone to know who your divisional specialist is. If you have any questions or any concerns about uploading your file, or getting those invitations out to members, or anything related to membership, every division has its own representative. So Monica Bates is at Division 1. All of our Division 2 regions and chapters will reach out to Tiffany Moses. Division 3, everyone will contact Paige Rakestraw. And for Division 4, her name is Asia Madison, and she is the Division 4 representative. They know everything upside down, backwards, in and out when it comes to your eligibility files and how to create awareness campaigns. They are the experts for that, and so never hesitate to reach out to them if you need assistance with that. And when it relates anything to do with chapter engagement or programming, I serve as the chapter outreach and development coordinator. Please feel free to email me. I do have virtual hours on Thursdays usually, but in the summer it's best that you just send me an email and we'll set up a time. It could be anytime that works best for you, and I'm here to support you with ideas. talking about each of the programs, even working with your chapter officers in a meeting. So please feel free to reach out to me in the future. If I can't answer the question, I have a whole staff behind me that can definitely help me out with that. They are the experts in each of those things. So please don't sit in silence and struggle, right? We want you to get the support that you need. And so I think I'm going to turn it back over to Blake to see if he...
We appreciate y'all. Y'all been great about asking questions in the chat. If you have further questions, don't hesitate to throw them there, or also just to reach out to us. Y'all are the Student Success Champions. We love partnering with y'all, and we hope y'all have a wonderful, possibly caffeine-fueled rest of your Friday. But thanks for all that you do to change lives and support students. Thank y'all.
Thank you.